Hi guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Kieran, Bomboni Scorsese. Let's just get right into the video, into vlog number 8, in which we find ourselves in Girona. Today I'm going to be your host for the unofficial Girona Game of Thrones tour. Many of you may know this if you're fans of Game of Thrones, but many scenes were filmed here in the city of Girona. There's one particularly famous scene that was filmed on this staircase, which leads all the way up to the cathedral right there of Girona, which is absolutely beautiful. Look at the absolute size of that cathedral. It's so imposing, and really just check out like the amount of stairs in order to get up here. So yeah, so today what we're going to do is we're going to go around the city and we're going to see some famous places which were recorded here in Girona for the series Game of Thrones. So for those of you who are Game of Thrones fans, please don't shoot me. I haven't actually ever watched Game of Thrones before, but I've found online which were the scenes and which places were filmed here. This scene was a scene in which one of the characters, Jaime Lannister, climbed up these stairs on horseback. And yeah, there were lots and lots of people. I believe 200 extras, including beggars, sparrows, and Tyrell soldiers. But you can remember, if you've seen the show, that here in the back, just at the bottom of the cathedral, in the show, there aren't many buildings, but instead they actually put in digitally the sea. So that's the big difference between the show and reality. So guys, the next part of the tour takes us to this street here, the street of Bishop Josep Cartagna, and there's a very well-known scene in Game of Thrones where Arya Stark is wandering and begging in the streets of Bravos. I do apologise if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. As I said, I've never seen Game of Thrones, so if I'm not pronouncing it, you can leave down below in the comments how it's really said. But yeah, this part here is where Arya Stark is walking in Bravos.
I don't believe that. You don't believe that.
So guys, Arya Stark from Game of Thrones sat here on this step where she was begging for money, and many tourists come to Girona to recreate this scene, and they sit here, just here on the step. Really, when you're walking through the streets of Girona, you can really understand why they chose to film Game of Thrones here, because everything is just so damn old. Like, look how old this is. Look at these walls, like absolutely unbelievable. It really feels like you've transported to a different time when you're in Girona. Do you remember in one of my previous vlogs where I mentioned to you guys the Caganet? Well, here is a Caganet. You can see here, this is something very typical of Christmas in Catalonia. Usually a boy squatting down, taking a poop, and this here is something that you'll see everywhere at Christmas time in Catalonia. This part seems to be, in Game of Thrones, the port market of Bravos, where Arya Stark comes through here in order to find a way out of the city. So let's just have a look around and see if you guys, if you've watched Game of Thrones, if you recognise any of these walls or this particular part of the city of Girona. Yeah, I must admit, it's not familiar to me at all. Really, I'm not the person who should be making this video. Should be someone who has actually watched the show. And actually, I mean, it probably is. I've heard lots and lots of good reviews of it, but I just haven't had the chance. You know, I'm not really, I think I've got quite a bad attention span when it comes to series. So often, like, if I see a series and it's got hundreds of seasons, and I find it difficult to finish them. So the next part of the tour, guys, is the Arab Baths, which I believe at one part of Game of Thrones, the character Arya Stark is being persecuted, and she ends up in this place, the Arab Baths of Girona, which in the show are the Baths of Bravos. So this bridge that we're currently walking across, guys, in Catalan it's the Bridge of Galligants, and this appeared in a scene of Game of Thrones where Arya Stark is contemplating, I'm not sure which side, maybe this side, or it could be this side as well, a big statue or a big sculpture in the distance before she's stabbed by a forlorn girl with an old woman's face. As you can see here, in Game of Thrones, I believe it's called the Bravos Bridge, but in real life it's the Galligants Bridge. Notice, guys, in real life the Bravos Bridge doesn't actually have any water underneath it, so that's a lie by Game of Thrones. They've made you believe this bridge is full of water underneath, but it's not at all true. In here, we're in the La Plaça dels Jurats, which appears in Game of Thrones in a scene in which they have a play about the Lannister family, so this is pretty cool. And that's actually right next to, as you can see, the bridge there of Bravos, where Arya is stabbed. You can see that's right next to it. These stairs that we're currently on appear in Game of Thrones in a scene where Arya Stark falls down the stairs and she drops oranges which scatter all over the stairs. Now you can see in real life, just down here, there's in fact a little cafe, and yeah, this is the street of Saint Dominic, which, yeah, as I said, appeared in Game of Thrones. So let's just have a look. We can see just how steep this street is, and that's the thing that I've really noticed about Girona, is that you're definitely going to get in shape here, because there's so many stairs, so many parts of the city to climb, and then if you ever come here, you'll see it firsthand. Have a look at that. Let's see from the very top how this looks. This part of the city then, guys, appeared in Game of Thrones as the Bravos Market, and we're almost concluding the tour. A few more things to show you and then we'll be finished. So folks, we're at the monastery just now of Sant Pere de Galligants, and this appeared in Game of Thrones. Well, in fact, the inside of it, the entrance, appeared in Game of Thrones as the entrance to the library in Old Town, which was the source of knowledge of I've not seen the show, as I said, I've just read this online, the Masters of Ponent, and yeah, that's where, I guess, where Sam, one of the characters, goes to finally become a master. So let's have a look inside. This is now the Archaeological Museum of Catalonia. So unfortunately, guys, I'd actually planned to come here to this ice cream store to buy what I read online was a Game of Thrones ice lolly, but unfortunately it seems to be closed, and I actually read online that it was actually limited edition anyway, so it's no longer available. I thought I'd come along and try, but you can see it's shut. So that concludes the tour. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope that yeah, you like to see these places from Game of Thrones. Like, do you recommend, if you've watched the show, do you recommend it to me? Because I'll certainly give it a go after having done this tour. It's actually got my curiosity, and maybe I'll give it a shot. Guys, just before we say goodbye, this bridge that I'm currently standing on was built by the same architect as the Eiffel Tower. Just thought I'd share that with you.